All right.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our second holiday Zoom call with Michaels. We're really thrilled you're here. If you're coming back, welcome back. If this is your first event with us, welcome in general. And my name is Sonny Grint, and I'm here with Bethany McHugh.
Hello, I'm Bethany. We are with Singer, a part of the education team. And we are actually sewing at our studio today to do this project with you, a sew along project. So we would love to know where you're sewing from, and also let us know what machine you're sewing on. We would love to know that information, and we're here today in our studio, like I said, in Nashville. And what machine are we sewing on today?
Actually, we are sewing on the Singer M3400 today. So one of the machines that Michaels carries. It's a nice, great machine to do all sorts of things with. So
yes,
Stephanie, really excited to show you all the project, but also to show a little bit about the machine as well. So very excited to be here with you. And by the way, I saw some people, Bethany, I think someone was from Montreal, Canada.
Oh,
we have someone from Virginia. So
that's awesome.
Really exciting. And one other thing real quick before we get started with the project is we have two helpers today for us. Not only is Lindsay there to help you, but also, there's Lindsay. We also have Amy and Amy in one is in our studio with us and one is coming from home. So if you do have sewing questions, not the technical questions, but sewing questions or anything like that, please put that in the chat also. They're going to be looking at that and checking stuff out for you.
And they'll be letting us know when you have some questions where we may need to repeat something or explain something a little further or show you something that we're using. So
yeah. All right,
let's talk about what we're doing.
Let's see what we're doing here.
Today we are sewing this fun ruffled kitchen towel. We are going to be making the ruffles ourselves and adding on some fun ruffled ribbon and rickrack, and all of these supplies were laid out in your full instructions that you should have received. So I can pick these up right here. With some prep work and that you could have done before the class so that you can sew along with us. If you're not sewing along with us, you can always watch. This will, like we know, is recorded, so you can go back and watch it later.
And one other thing as we get started, because we are encouraging you to sew with us. However, guys, we know, I mean, Bethany and I both know that people sew at different rates. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, you're going too fast, Sonny and Bethany, just stop, or you're going too slow. Remember that this is recorded. And so, you know, if you get a little behind, just stop, watch, have some fun with us.
Take some notes.
Perfect. And then you can always come back and look at it again. Yes. So don't feel stressed. Sewing is a fun hobby, right?
It is.
You shouldn't feel stressed at all. So
and it's a lot more fun when you can sew with someone else
right.
too. That's why we love doing these together. Yeah. So Lindsay, if you're ready to get started, I think we're going to switch over to this overhead camera and go over some of the supplies for today. So today we're going to be, like I said, making the kitchen towel. I have here, this is a very thin decorative kitchen towel that we are using. This one already had some red on it. We're going to be covering that up. So if you have one of these laying around and you just want to dress it up, this is perfect for that project.
I think, Bethany, that was kind of one of the little fancy towels.
It
right?
is.
It's a little specialty towel. So there are different towels to work with, as you're going to show.
And then this one is just a regular kitchen towel, solid white. It's like a terry cloth. It's a lot thicker, but it is a really good functioning towel. So if you want this to be something that people can use, this is to dry their hands or use in the kitchen, this is probably a better material for that. But if you're looking for something that you're like, I don't want the kids touching it, I just want it to look pretty and dress up my oven, or even put it in your guest bath or something, exactly. Then you might want to do something a little different. One of the things we were talking about when we were making this towel is when you add stuff to the bottom of a towel, the weight is going to be a little different. And we'll talk about how that might affect which towel you want to choose for this project. So we're going to start with this one today. We are going to use some different things today. One of the things you're going to have is your satin ruffled ribbon. These are all from Michaels. And they have other colors too, but I loved these. And today we're going to use the black for this one. We are not going to switch our threads today just for time constraints, and so that you can see the stitches better. So we're just going to use white thread on all of our stitching today, but we did in the finished project, use the black thread and the red thread at certain points, and we did swap out our thread so it matches. You are going to have a piece of rickrack, a piece of ruffled ribbon, and then also your piece of fabric that we're going to be ruffling and gathering here in a minute.
And Bethany, I'm just going to scoot this out of the way a little bit. So maybe you can, when you're showing them a little bit, you can see, they can see a little bit more.
And then we got our bobbins. So your ribbons and your rickrack are going to be the width of your kitchen towel, adding about a half an inch to an inch on either end, extra length. Same with the rickrack. And then your fabric that we're going to be ruffling, it's pretty long. I can't get it all in the camera shot. You can see it's long. This is 32 inches by 6 inches. It's folded in half and pressed, wrong sides together. And then we did a little press on the ends to finish it up. You could do a half inch, a quarter inch. It doesn't really matter on that. And we pressed it and folded it. And this is what we're going to ruffle first. So that's actually our first step.
And Bethany, the length of that, that depended on the towel, right? So
Right.
you said you cut this 36 inches?
32.
32 inches, but that was the length of the towel plus.
Yes. So I doubled that.
So it was
Mhm.
double the I say
The
length,
width.
the width of the towel, excuse me.
Yes.
So double the width of the towel. Okay,
Yes.
all right, that's great.
So
So
that's what we're going to start with. So are you ready to
I
start
am
showing
so-
some different ways? So there's
yeah.
a couple of ways, and I'm going to let Sonny explain the different ways to do a ruffle.
So if we can flip back to the other camera, and then what we're gonna do is
There
I'll
we go.
come over here. So Bethany, so part of the instructions that Bethany wrote up was actually about how to gather. So we're gonna do actually a couple different things. We're gonna gather and then we're going to ruffle using a ruffler foot. So by doing this, here we've got our two pieces together like that. So it looks really nice. It's just folded in half and a finished edge. In the instructions, it says to actually use a basting stitch. And that's a very long straight stitch. So guys, if you are taking notes or if you're looking at a few different things, a basting stitch is truly a straight stitch on any machine. So no matter what your machine is, you take your straight stitch and make the length as long as it will go. So on our Singer, on our M3400, this actually goes to 4. So I would make my stitch length all the way to 4. Whereas on some other machines, it may go to 6, it may go to 3, but it's just the longest length you have. So hopefully that makes sense, okay? So Amy, if anybody is saying, yes, that makes sense, hopefully you guys, we need your feedback. So if it's not making sense, let us know. But if it is, we like to see that too. So that's great. So really, you're going to baste along the edge. And I actually like to do 2 rows of basting. So I will do 2 rows and then just pull the threads. What I want to share with you today, okay, is a different way to do gathering. And that is using a heavier, if you can see that, this is a heavier type of cord. This happens to be what's called a gimp cord. It's just a cotton cord. If you are a hand embroiderer, ribbon floss works very well. So just regular, or I say ribbon floss, excuse me, embroidery floss works very well. So anything like that will work. It's just heavier and it's not going to break. It's not like thread. It's not going to break. Okay. So now I'm actually going to turn my machine just a little bit and zoom in slightly. And the reason why is if I do that, over here, you can kind of see on my M3400, you can actually see that I've got several different stitches to choose from. For this type of gathering, I'm going to use the zigzag stitch. And Bethany,
Yes.
This was new to you, right?
Yeah, this is a different way of making ruffles or gathers than what I grew up doing, which is what I put in the instructions. And I
Yeah.
love that there's different ways. And we're going to show you Sonny's way, which is fantastic. And then we also have another way we'll show you in a minute too.
Yeah. So what I did is I chose a zigzag stitch. And then with that zigzag stitch, I'm just going to move up if I can, just a little bit here. And what I'm doing is I'm changing the width to about a 3 stitch width and stitch length between 2 and 3. Okay, so zigzag stitch, width at 3 and stitch length between 2 and 3. So you might want to take that little bitty note. All right. And then this is the cool part. And so I'm going to come back down and come back over here. So hopefully you can see this very well. We're not actually going to stitch on the cord. We are going to, let's turn this back just a little bit. Trying to make it so you all can see very well is I'm going to take that cord, place it underneath my presser foot. Okay, so cord there. Let's go down just a little bit more. Trying to get that good shot, right, Bethany? As we
There it
go on.
is.
There's the shot. All right, so there's the shot. And now I do like to hold my cord and all of my threads when I get started sewing. And then I'm just going to very carefully, after I stitch a couple zigzag stitches, I'm actually, one of the beautiful things about our Singer foot there is it's got this little groove right in the front. So I'm just putting my cord right down the groove of that foot. And I'm going to zigzag. And I am just zigzagging away.
And the key here is to make sure you do not sew through the cord. You want to
That's
sew
right.
on either side of the cord. It's basically just kind of tacking it down to the fabric.
It's actually, yeah, it's making a little casing. You're
Mhm.
exactly right. So as it goes, and Bethany, if you would hold this up just
Sure
for
can.
me, can you all see that that's cord is right there? The zigzagging is going right over the top. And guys, I have to say, if you're sewing along with us, okay, so if you're sewing along with us, I'm probably a little far away from this edge. It really doesn't matter too much, but I probably should have been a little closer. So I'm gonna mosey.
Mosey on over.
I have to say, I grew up on a farm. Now moseying is a good thing to learn when you grow up on a farm, you kind of mosey. Now, there we go. So that's where I should have been at the beginning. Closer to that edge. Once I get to the end, which I'm almost there.
A little bit of a journey across 32
It is.
inches,
Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah.
We need that extra fabric to
Make it
make
look
it
really
ruffle and
nice.
gather.
Yeah, exactly. Now, again, everybody, I did not. Okay, so there now you can see that, and hopefully I can see how that zigzag stitch kind of made almost like a little casing. And now what you're going to do is you're not going to worry about the stitching from the machine. What you're going to do is you're going to pull the heavier cord that you have, and check this out. Look at how nice
How easy that is.
and easy that is to gather, right?
I'm so glad you showed us this today.
I think
It's fun learning new things.
It is very fun. And if any of you, so I'm just kind of pulling and gathering here as we go. If you've ever broken a thread when you gathered with a basting stitch, and Bethany, you and I have talked about this, we both have, right?
Yes.
So this is a great way.
The better alternative to avoid that scenario.
It really is. So look at that. Isn't that beautiful, everyone? Is how nice and easy that is.
And I think,
So-
Amy, did you say there's someone who has a question?
We just want to know what the name of the attachment is.
So actually, this is the cool thing about this method is this is our regular sewing foot. So there really isn't an attachment yet. We're going to show you that ruffler attachment in a moment, but this is just using what you have today. Now, I personally think the ruffler is a lot quicker, so you're going to see that here, but this still gives you a lovely gather with just a regular sewing foot, zigzag stitch at a 3 stitch width and about a 2 to 3 stitch length. Now, here's the cool thing, as Bethany was saying, this is quite a long gather. So what Bethany's going to show you next is how to make sure your gathers work well for your towels. So
And they're spaced out evenly.
yeah, and so make sure that it is all spaced out evenly. So are there any other questions about what we just did with gathering, ladies? No? All right, perfect. So I'm going to hand this over to Bethany, and if we can get that overhead camera going again.
All right, here we go. All right, so she started our gathers. So what I typically do, and I put this in the instructions, is before I actually gather, you're going to fold it in half and find your center point. And just stick a little pin in it. This is just marking the center. If I could stick the pin in it and not my finger. There you go. And then you can do that again, folding from the outside to the center and find this quarter point.
And Bethany, I admitted to you when we were practicing yesterday that I never do this. And so I now know why yours looks so much more professional than mine.
This is my OCD coming out is what this is. But it's all about, you know, spacing and making those ruffles even. And this is an easy way to do it. You can totally eyeball it if you didn't want to do it this way. But this is just an easy way, especially for someone who is a beginner at ruffles. So I've got my 3 points. And you can see I did the same thing with the towel here. I folded it in half and marked that. And then I did both quarter points as well. And what I do, and this is, again, just me, you can do this 2 ways. You can ruffle this into the center and then ruffle into the center. You ruffle from both sides. Or you can take this and line up your pins. So I line up my center pins. I take one out and I pin the fabric to the towel. Like so. And then I take this pin and I line it up with this one. And you see I have this big gap right here.
Yeah.
Well, that all is going to be filled up with ruffles.
So that's
going to be ruffles. And then you take the end and you pin it. And then this gap is all going to be filled up with ruffles. And you want to pull it with ruffles until all the ruffles lay flat on that towel.
That's great.
So that's my little trick on that.
Yeah.
And while I'm pinning and ruffling over here, I think we're going to switch back over to the sewing machine because Sonny has another way to do ruffles that she's going to show you.
So here's the cool thing about this. So again, Lindsay, if we can get to the other camera. There we go. Someone asked earlier about, you know, this is our regular sewing foot. So it wasn't using a specialty foot. Some of you may have actually heard about what is called a ruffler or ruffler attachment. And depending upon your machine, so this is a ruffler attachment, and I have to smile every time I work with the rufflers because I have my grandmother's old treadle sewing machine, and guess what she had in her little bits? She had a ruffler attachment that looks very similar to this. A ruffler attachment, instead of making random gathers like what we did here, this actually makes pleats. And so this is actually very cool. You need to find the ruffler attachment that works for your machine. So that's really important. So this is a Singer ruffler attachment. It does work with our M3400. So it is a little bit, it is, you know, the appropriate one for this particular machine. But again, you need to figure out which one you need. And you don't have to have this, but you're going to see how nice and easy and how cool this is. So what I'm going to do, and hopefully not stick my head in the way of the camera, is I need to take off the presser foot, ankle and presser foot. So I'm taking off this whole piece here. So I've got the whole piece. And just a little tip for those of you who do this or maybe have done this and you can never find your ankle when you want to put it back on, I always leave the presser foot on the ankle because that way it's bigger and I can now find it easier. So just a quick little tip for you on that. With the ruffler, this little piece right here, so you can see there's a little like a cup shape or a U shape there. And then there's a little hook here. This hook will go around where the presser foot ankle was, and this is going to go above where the needle bar is. So there are two things we're going to do all at once. So, and you kind of have to do it together. So I'm going to try, see how I'm putting this over the needle bar, this over the needle bar, and this around the foot. and then it's going to be in place. So that is very important that you do that in that kind of in that order. And then again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try without putting my head in your way, which I may have to put my head in your way, to put that screw back in there for a minute. Actually, what I'm
It's a
going to
tough
do,
angle.
I'm going to turn that so we all can see what we're going to do with that. There we go. And I just have to smile when I say this because it always is easier when you aren't on camera, everyone. So anyone who's out there and you're going, man, she's making that look hard. It really isn't. It's just a lot easier on camera.
So the finished project that I made and showed you guys at the beginning of the class, I actually used the ruffler foot to make those ruffles, but you'll see that the ruffles we're going to make today, we're going to do Sonny's way with the cording. So there's different ways and you can get a similar look. It's just all about what makes it easier and more efficient.
And actually, I love the Ruffler attachment.
Me
We
too.
said this, and Bethany, you used it. It's really very cool.
I know I started ruffling everything after I used it a few times.
Yeah.
It's like, this is so much fun.
Guys, I don't want to.
So satisfying.
I hope I didn't just make you sick there zooming in. Those of you on the Zoom call, I wanted to zoom way in because this little piece here, what this is, see how that's moving for me? I can move it up and scoot it over and move it up and scoot it over. All rufflers are going to have a setting, and this little setting, there's a 1, a 6, a 12, and a star. The 1 means it's going to make a pleat every single stitch. The 6 means it's going to make a pleat every 6 stitches, 12 stitches, and the star is no pleats at all.
It's just straight sewing.
It's just straight sewing. So here's the important part, and so we'll zoom out just a little bit. And again, I'm sorry if I'm making you feel a little woozy, seasick for all that zooming in and out, but that was really important because when you change your stitch length, and you change this, it's going to change how many ruffles you get in an area. And Bethany, we talked about this, and people often wonder like how, like I've got a 10-inch piece of fabric. This was just some play fabric we were playing around with. You know, a 10-inch piece of fabric, how do I know how much it's going to ruffle? Well, that depends on your stitch length, and it also depends on the setting on the ruffler. And that's a lot of technical stuff. Hopefully you guys follow me a little bit with this, but I'm going to show you that when I have the setting at 1, okay, when I have that setting at 1, we're going back to a straight stitch. So if you have a ruffler and never played with it, or you don't have a ruffler, check this out, where there's a little jaw here, and I'm actually going to put my fabric, my folded fabric, right in this jaw. And I want to make sure it goes all the way to the back. See how I've got that all the way to this back area, really important. And then I've been known to forget to put my presser foot down at that point. So make sure you put your presser foot down. And I'm just going to hold this now. This is the magic, right? So I'm going to go ahead and sew. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And I want to just trim that thread real quick because now I can go full force and see. Isn't that the coolest?
That was so easy.
Isn't that the coolest thing? Look at all those pleats. Now, that is my longest stitch length. So that's a stitch length of 4. And that was 10 inches of fabric. So we're going to.
That was a ruffle and a pleat at every stitch.
A pleat at every stitch. So what I want to do before we switch to the other camera real quick, Bethany, what I want to do is I'm going to change this. So what's going to happen is I'm going to actually have a pleat at every 6 stitches versus every stitch. And now I'm going to change and I'm going to make my stitch length. So again, every stitch, so it's pleating at every stitch. You guys, you really need a longer stitch length. So that's why I took my stitch length all the way up to 4. If I've got it pleating at every 6 stitches, so every 6 stitches, basically what I'm going to do Put that presser foot down, Sonny. Bethany, you're gonna have to,
Sorry.
you're gonna have to watch me on that one. Now my stitch length is set at 2 versus set at 4. So this is gonna be probably a little better ruffle or pleat for what we're doing. So
There we go. That's
isn't that
beautiful.
beautiful? I just think that is so cool.
Now that is the
So-
setting I used on our finished towel that I showed you
Yeah,
guys earlier, if you want to show them that.
Yeah, so that's the setting. So every 6 come over here, every 6 stitches, you put in a
Mhm.
pleat. I gotta
Yes,
say
at my
that right.
longest stitch
Yeah.
length.
All right.
So it's tongue twister, but
It
we'll
is.
get there.
So if we can go to the overhead camera now, basically what we're gonna do, and Lindsay, if we can go to the overhead camera,
There we go.
basically what we want to do is like, this was a 10-inch piece.
This
So
is where we started,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
And
that
doing
was
it every
stitch. Yeah.
shrunk 10 inches down to, when you count just the ruffles, just about 3 inches.
Yeah.
So it's a 1 to 3
Yeah.
ratio.
It's a
When you do every 6 stitches, you get about 5 inches of ruffles. So half of the length of what we started
Right.
with 10 inches. So it's just good to see that. If you're not sure how long you need your fabric to be, this is a good test to determine what type of ruffle you like for your design, and also how much fabric you're going to need.
Yeah, so I think that's really very, very good. We get a lot of questions about that. And I don't know if anybody had asked, but that way you can kind of say, okay, well, I have 10 inches, I ruffled it down to 5. And so I need twice as much fabric
Right.
as what I used to, is what I had before.
So what I did is I took what Sonny had ruffled or corded for me earlier, and I finished ruffling it and I pinned it. I did my center pin, my quarter pins, but then I threw in some extra pins to really make sure that when we sew a top stitch over this, that it's nice and secure for her going through the sewing machine. I also folded my corners around and pinned them as well. So you want to make sure those corners, when you get to the ends, you never sew over a pin. You want to make sure you stop and pull that pin out before you sew over. You don't want to damage your machine or your needle. So that's where I've got a few pins in here, and she's going to sew across that as the next step as she gets her foot replaced.
And Bethany, before we leave this camera angle, I just want to ask you all that are out there, what did you think of that ruffler? Wasn't that like the coolest thing
We
in
have
the
some
world?
comments
I
and
was so
questions.
excited.
So, someone asked if you could show the other setting for the ruffler foot.
So,
The
oh,
12.
yeah, I will. What I did is because we were going the so long, I will do that at the end, Amy.
We
Okay,
have time,
I'm
yeah.
sorry about that. I was being too efficient for us, and I already changed back to our other presser foot. But I will certainly show the 12. Yeah, no worries. Sorry that I was trying to. Like I said, I was trying to be too efficient today,
That's
which
okay.
is never happens. So
And it takes a minute to
to
switch
put it
out
on
the
and
feet.
off.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm going to switch back over, hand this over to Sonny so she can do a straight stitch on this.
All right.
So we can go back to the sewing machine.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So as you can see, I was way too efficient and put our other presser foot back on. So, which is fine. I mean, I'm happy to use that 12 setting and even the star setting. It does a very similar thing. It's just basically how many stitches in between there are. And that ruffler foot, just by the way, so I just going back to that ruffler foot, this actually works so well for heavier fabrics. So if you do a lot of home deck or things like that, that's what this really works super well for. And of course, the layers of fabric as well that we've been doing.
And with the ruffler foot, you can actually sew your ruffles right onto your garment or whatever you're sewing. You can put that underneath and it'll sew it right onto it at the same time as ruffling it, which is really cool.
You certainly can. Now, So what Bethany did here, guys, is she actually put the little edge, you can either put it over the side like this. See how she just put that right to the back here? So that makes it very nice. Nice finish. And it also kind of makes your ruffle go out a little bit at the end, which is really cute. And I am going to sew in this direction. The reason why I hesitated a moment, often I use the right side of my presser foot truly as my guide. But in this case, I'm going to use the left side of the presser foot just because there's more bulk over on here. So I don't want that up inside the machine. So this will make it a little bit easier. One of the other nice things about the M3400 truly is it has this extra high lift. So those of you with Singer machines, make sure that you test that, because that way I can get the fabric all underneath really easy that way. And so that makes it work very well. And last but not least, I'm back to a straight stitch. So again, straight stitch with a stitch length of about 3, everyone. So a stitch length of about 3. Little bit longer stitch to put this on. And to Bethany's point, I am not going to sew over pins. So I'm going to take a couple straight stitches to begin with, use my back stitch, my reverse. And then as I sew, and this would have worked out a lot better if I would have sewn properly, but we're going to just put my cord on properly, but that's okay. Notice what I'm trying to do is I'm just making sure that my gathers are going underneath, nice and flat, taking my pins out as I go. And Bethany, you did a fabulous job with this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have to say, everyone, don't you want a Bethany home with you, working with you?
Pinning your stuff as you sew.
Pinning your stuff as you sew. It's wonderful.
Sewing with a friend makes it so much more fun.
It certainly does. So, all right. So this is where I kind of, again, the ruffle, I did not use my guide. So what you're going to end up seeing is my cording will probably be showing, but you know, that's why we practice and try, and hopefully you learn from my mistakes, everyone. So that's going to be really important, you realize. All right. And then once I get to the end, I'm going to back stitch again. Like to do that just to make sure that everything's going to remain in the proper places as we go. Okay. And there we have our little ruffle on there. So Amy, was there another question?
Yes, on that specific ruffle, they asked if the cording could be pulled off after we stitched it down.
That is correct. So the question was, you know, I've got, especially since I came so far down here, the question was, can I pull out the cording? And the answer is yes. So that's one of the nice things about it is like I could trim right here where actually where it's up in the stitching here, but it's down below the stitching in a certain place. Certainly you could just cut that and pull that cording right out. So that's the other beauty of doing it this way. So great comment and question for that.
So what we're going to do next is actually a way to cover up
Yeah,
our
exactly.
stitching and our raw edge
Yeah.
with a fun satin ribbon. So if we can go
Okay.
back to the overhead.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
So this is the one that Sonny just did, and this is where you're going to place your ribbon. And I, just for time's sake, went ahead and did so, but I'll show you what I did. This is our satin ribbon. This is again from Michaels, and it's so I picked this out because it has this fun ruffle along the edges to go along with our ruffled theme today. But the center is flat and smooth, and where the ruffles meet is actually where we're going to sew on this ribbon. And so what I did is I used this ribbon to hide our raw edge and where we stitched our ruffles.
Very smart.
Yes,
That's the way to do it.
It's much easier. So I've got this pinned, and then being efficient, went ahead and pinned our rickrack too, because these are done in the same manner. I did a pin in the center and a pin on the ends, and as you can see, I just folded these behind and pin them so when she sews across, it'll secure them. Or you could tuck them under like we had talked about before. But when your towel is completely folded and pleated,
one's
like
gonna see it.
no one's going to see those
Yeah.
edges anyways. So what we're going to do is, and I'm going to pass this to Sonny, but I'll show it to you real quick. And I want to kind of get up closer because I know this is black, so it doesn't show up the best on camera. But there, like I said, there's a seam or a stitch here and a stitch here already where that ruffle meets the flat part.
And actually, what
And
I
I
was gonna
have
say,
some
yeah,
in red. Let
maybe
me
the
show it in the red.
yeah,
It's a little
let's try
easier to
that.
see. You can see.
There we go.
where they
Now you
meet,
can see that a
right?
little bit better. Yep.
So this is that line that you're going to follow on your machine when stitching. When I stitched it down, I chose a thread that matched so it blended in, so you wouldn't see those stitches because we want to make it look like it's almost just sitting right on top.
Yeah.
But it's secured down with stitching, and you're going to go down both sides. You're going to go down one side and then down the other side.
Yeah.
I always recommend starting on the side covering the ruffles to make sure it's covering stays in place, and do the bulky side first. And then for the rickrack, you're going to sew straight down the middle.
For that really big rickrack.
Yes, this is a fun chunky
yeah.
rickrack, and when you do that, this will kind of pull up a little bit and almost kind of look ruffled as well.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to
Really
do.
cute.
Sonny's going to do this in white, so you
Yeah,
can
so
see
you
the
can see
stitches
this.
on the camera.
But before we leave this, Bethany,
Mhm.
you did some really fun stuff with this
I did.
ribbon, and I think this is a great place to show.
Yes. So we kept this project simple
Yeah.
for today's sake and for the instructions. We like to give you a simple project that you can embellish upon and use. Hopefully we get your creativity going.
Yeah.
So what I did is a couple of fun ribbons with some decorative stitches. So if you wanted to do a decorative stitch down this satin ribbon, you could pick one. I would recommend stitching the decorative stitch on before you sew it onto your towel.
So you're not going through the
But here's a fun little
thicknesses.
snowflake one that
Yeah.
I did. And this is fun to do in a contrasting thread, so it really shows up on your ribbon.
Very
Here's a
cool.
fun scallop and another little
feather
I
stitch.
know.
Yeah.
So
Now,
fun.
and real quick, and I see Amy's like
Yes.
jumping up and
She's
down,
like,
but
we've got
we've got questions, but I do want to, the little snowflake one, that was done on a little bit different machine than
It
what I'm working
was.
on
It was on
today.
a
So
different.
use what you have. That's
Mhm.
the cool part. Use what you have.
This
So,
is an opportunity to really explore what
Yeah.
your machine can do.
so Amy, yeah,
Everyone loves the ribbon.
Cool.
Just want to know that.
it is from
It is
Michael's,
from
yeah.
Michael's. I got several colors to choose from for
Yeah.
today's project, but they have a lot of colors. They have a lot. A really cool, you need,
Yeah.
if you, next time you're at Michael's, go down the ribbon aisle and you'll be there for a while.
Exactly.
It's one of my favorites. So.
Well, and one of the other things, I think, Bethany, we're doing this for our summer holidays spree kind of thing.
Yes.
But you could do this for any holiday. That's the beauty.
Mhm.
So Michael's has a lot of different types of fabrics and colors in the ribbon, like you said. So you
Yes.
could do it for Halloween, you could do it for Easter, you could, make all of them. So
Did you use any
Sonny?
stabilizer when you did the decorative stitches?
I did not, the question was, did I use any stabilizer before I did the decorative stitches? I did not. This actually is a pretty sturdy and it's not super thin. It is like a satin. So I just made sure that I held both ends of the ribbon as it was kind of feeding through the foot. I didn't pull it, but I held it in place to make sure it would go down the center. But that was really it. I didn't use anything.
And I think, Bethany, if it was maybe not as stable as the satin,
It's a
that
good
was a
option.
great comment to
Mhm.
actually use a little bit of stabilizer. There are wash away stabilizers, that sort of thing that would be easy to work with. Then you wouldn't have to pick it out from behind. But
This is true.
yeah, but I think, again, great comment, great suggestion from you
Yes,
guys.
and people, again, creative juices flowing.
Oh, the
so
creative
good.
juices are flowing.
It
We
would
love
be
hearing
great to
that.
dress up pillowcases for
Oh,
the
pillowcases.
holidays.
I'm telling you, ruffles are back. So I love them.
Again, like you said before, guest bathroom,
Yes.
kitchen.
Yeah. Guest bathroom, kitchen, ruffles on, actually on anything, but as you said, on on pillowcases. I'm thinking aprons, you know,
Aprons.
anything like that.
I have
So-
ruffles on my sleeves today.
Yeah,
I dressed
exactly.
in theme.
Right,
So
yeah.
I'm gonna
All
pass
right.
this back over to Sonny. We're gonna switch back over to the sewing machine again, and she's gonna
Yeah.
show you what I just explained about stitching on the ribbon.
Okay, so in this
And the rib
camera, I think you guys can see maybe a little bit better here. And what Bethany was talking about is here we've got our ruffle is stitched on, and then we're just covering with the ribbon. So I think that's really great. Now, I'm going to say I was the one that suggested that we keep using the white thread, but y'all are gonna see how non-straight I sew now because it's gonna be white on black. So
pressure.
no pressure at all for me. But realize if you're using the same color, it's not gonna be as obvious. So,
Yes, you can hide it with matching thread.
yeah, and remember again, I'm taking my pins out as I sew. So pins out as I sew.
And don't forget to do a couple of back stitches at
so-
the beginning and end. You want to make sure you're securing your threads and your stitches in
Definitely.
place.
I like to take those couple forward
Yes.
and then a couple back, and that's gonna secure everything. Bethany, I'm using my stitch length at about 2.5 to 3. 3 is usually more of a top stitch length. 2.5 is probably your average. So does that seem about right?
Yes, that's what I used. And I think that would work to secure it down. Great. It's hard
For
with
the
those
moment.
ruffles a little bit, but yes.
Notice how I'm kind of pushing the both ruffles a little
Mhm.
bit. So I'm doing the gathering that we did as well as, and again, once you get to that pin, make sure you take those out.
So important.
You know, I know some people feel that they can sew over pins, and any sewing machine technician would be unhappy with you. Because not only can you break a needle if you sew over pins and accidentally hit the pin, you can also throw your machine out of timing. So that's why we so much as a sewist, you know, tell you all, please, please, please take out those pins as you're sewing. And then back stitch a little and then come back forward. And I feel actually okay about this.
That looks really good.
So not too bad. And maybe if I was using
And
red or green, that would
I was
be
about
a
to
great
say, I kind of
accent.
like the white.
Yeah, exactly. So
And then we were talking earlier today about the importance of having a good needle in your
Yeah.
machine, how important it is to change out your needle on a regular basis. So I think you said what, every 8 to 10 hours of sewing is when you need to replace your needle with a new one. And you'll really notice a difference when you swap out that needle for a new one that's really sharp, especially when you're sewing over something that's bulky or layers like she just did with the ruffles.
and if you can't remember the last time you changed out a needle, guys, after you've been away for a little bit,
It's time to do it.
it's time to do it. That's right, exactly. So make sure you are, you know, good sewing machine habits as well as fun creative things. That needle will make all the difference.
Today we're using a universal needle, correct?
We are, yeah, just a regular universal sewing needle. So there's, actually, that is not
I-
bad with the white.
This one
And
can go home with you.
all right, all right. So we'll do the same thing with the rickrack.
Right down the middle.
And with this super large rickrack like this, Bethany, and you got this at Michael's too,
I
right?
did.
Yeah, this large rickrack is really neat, but if you're using a smaller rickrack, I think you may have to use maybe even a zigzag. I'm not sure,
Mhm.
right? So it
Yeah,
just
you can
depends.
zigzag or you can take it slow and go with the wave of the rickrack. You could even do some sort of fun little decorative stuff down this if you wanted to, especially on a wider one like this.
And I think, again, rickrack right now is kind of,
It's
again,
coming back
trendy.
too.
It's real trendy. All of the, you know, I find, and those of you out there in the audience, you probably find this too. What's old is new again,
Yes.
often. So
I had rickrack and ruffles on every outfit as a child, and I love that it's coming back, and that's why I wanted to incorporate it into today's project. Little throwback. Any
Alright.
questions? Doing good? Okay.
Folks already signed up.
Oh,
so
good.
there we go, guys. This was, as Bethany said, and maybe we can actually go to the wide angle for
Okay.
us here, so we can talk for a minute,
Yes.
because that's it. Wasn't that cool?
That was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And we were talking about other ways that you could make this with choosing different fabrics, different
Yeah.
colors for different seasons or holidays, making this as a gift for someone. And but there's some other ways you could really dress this up that we didn't show today. Maybe adding some applique or something fun across the top, and getting one that already has
So what we were
decoration on
saying
it. So
is, you
there's-
know, Michael's has some really great towels
Mhm.
that has some maybe some writing up here,
Mhm.
but then adding that ruffle to the bottom. What a great idea. So
Another
I
way to
think that's
dress it
really
up and
cool.
make it your own. And then for this week, not only did we provide you with today's class with the ruffled towel, but we have
Yeah.
a bonus project, and Amy's going to drop the link to that bonus project for you to download it. It's going to be in the chat. And I'm going to let Sonny explain what that is.
This actually is really a fun one. We kind of
Yes.
thought this was really, we did a kitchen theme today, and our bonus project is this little trivet, and it is a quilted trivet. So for those of you who want to maybe start and maybe try quilting for the first time or the second time,
Yes.
it depends.
Try it again.
This little trivet is really fun and easy to make. And what we did is, in the instructions, we did this 6 wedge. I'm going to call each of these a little wedge. So 6 wedge trivet. It does have a thermal layer as well as a little bit of batting inside. Now, sometimes you can find the thermal layer with batting together. Other times you have to use both, but this really is a trivet, like you said when we were
That
practicing.
thermal
Yeah.
layer is what's going to protect your hard surface when you're putting something
Right.
hot on top. If you don't have that thermal layer, it's not always going to protect your surface underneath. So
Yeah.
this is truly a functioning
Yeah,
trivet.
so that's what you have to be aware of when you're getting your
Yes.
getting your
Materials,
supplies.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. But
But turn it over.
again, yeah. So
This is my favorite.
this is Bethany's
I
favorite
love
part. It's really cute.
She just did it perfectly.
So basically, and this is written in the instructions for any of
Mhm.
you who are quilters, we call this fussy cutting.
Yes.
And basically what it means is on the back, look at how I made Santa be right in the middle.
Mhm.
I didn't make it random. I actually planned to have him right in the middle. So this actually is reversible so that it's really, really cute. So if you have, I think this would be really pretty if I would have had like a, oh gosh, some fabrics have birds, or
Oh,
they have
yes.
snowmen, or
Yes.
different things. So anything you could put right on the back. So again, it's reversible. And we did give you in the instructions, if you are a beginning quilter, beginning sewist, we gave you 3 basically different wedge sizes, I'm gonna say. The cut 4, this one is, so there's only 4 pieces, and, oh, I moved it already. I was
There
too
you go.
efficient. So it really is a little bit easier to work with, a little bit more simple, with only 4 pieces, versus this one, we had the 6 pieces. And then lastly, that you could do 8. So we gave you all of those options, and in the instructions, excuse me, this is a 1/4 inch seam all the way around. So when you're cutting, we are expecting you to use a 1/4 inch seam. And why I say that is there are 1/4 inch feet that are available. Some come with different machines, but or you can move the needle, but a 1/4 inch seam in quilting is important.
Mhm.
So that's a little different than what we've been doing up till
Yes.
now. So
This is a little bit more precision
It
cutting
is.
and sewing,
Right.
especially to get all of these to meet up into a very pretty point right
in
here
the
in the middle.
center. Yeah, that's why the 4 is a little bit easier to get those to meet up.
So start with
versus
the 4
start
and
with
then
the
work your
4.
way up to smaller
That's-
wedges.
That's why we wanted to do that.
And we
So
like to offer that bonus project as a way to kind of challenge you a little bit.
expand what you're doing.
Exactly. You master this today. Take that same fabric that you used and make one of these to
Yeah.
match, and then you have something to use in your kitchen for the holidays.
All right. Now, Bethany, I think, and are there any other questions about this week's project, Amy? No? No, we're doing good.
Even let everyone know, we're just gonna reattach the files above it. I'll
Okay.
reattach them here.
So
Okay.
we've already attached files at the beginning, but Amy's gonna attach them again, so you'll get both projects. But Bethany,
You want to give them a sneak peek for
we're
next week?
sneak peek
So
for next week.
this
We
is
hope
our-
you'll join us.
This is our second week of
Yeah.
doing these holiday in July projects. So we did one last week. So if you missed that, you can go back and watch that on michaels.com or on Michael's YouTube channel, where we made this fun decorative garland, Christmas tree garland. And we have one more class we're going to do next week to wrap up our series. And next week we are making
I love this.
a little Christmas tree door hanger. And I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I attached little bells to it. You know, door hangers, they always have some sort of jingle to it. And so we
Yep.
just decided to go that route. But we're going to be making this next week. And then we'll also have another bonus project for next week as well.
So I'm excited for this one. I think
know.
this is really cute and it's super easy.
And
And
it moves,
swings,
yeah.
So it's just
very
like,
cool.
oh, it's very neat. So if there are no other questions, Amy, or guys, first of all, thank you
Yes.
so much for coming and joining us. We really have enjoyed doing
I
this,
know.
hanging out with you guys. Hopefully you got some good, not only ideas, but also some fun projects to expand your creativity. You all said that already, so that's great.
But we want to
And-
make sure that when you do complete your project, that you use our hashtags, make it with Michael's classes, and Singer Sewing. So use these hashtags. Amy's going to drop those in the chat so you can save those as well, write them down. But that way we can see your finished project, see where your creativity took you with what we did today. And we're excited to see that.
Yeah, we are thrilled to see that. So again, everyone, thanks for coming, spending this hour with us. We really appreciate it. And if there are no other questions, Lindsay, I think we're probably at the end. Is there anything else that you have for us, Lindsay?
No, thank you for joining us, everyone.
I'll hold this up again.
There we go. So
One
you
more
all can do
time.
that? All right. Oh, and well, you know what? I know someone asked about this little piece about the sewing 12. You know what? I'm going to do that next week. I'm sorry. So if you can't be there next week, basically take a look. We'll do this again. I'm so sorry. I forgot about that until just then. But really, it is just simply every 12 stitches you're going to get a pleat. And
So
oh,
it's a
shoot,
wider,
sorry about that.
softer.
Yeah,
ruffle.
it's not as heavy as of a ruffle. And so
It's going to be
um,
half
we'll-
of the 6, right? So
Yeah,
it's going to be
so-
half of, so it's
yeah.
going to be even further apart. Than
further
that.
apart than that, exactly. So
So-
I'm sorry about that, but I will.
We ran
we
out
will.
of time.
Yeah, well, and I just,
It's
we got
okay.
so excited at the end. So everyone, thanks again and have a great rest of your day.
Bye, guys. Thank
Bye.
you.